Okay, what's up, everyone? Swinging Bull here, joined by Mr. SLP, and today there's the closing bell of the regular session, by the way. So it's officially 4 p.m. Eastern, and in the stream we're going to be talking about CSCO and PANW earnings. Okay, so that's Cisco and Palo Alto are the name of the companies. And for the first couple minutes, just wanted to look at some previous data from previous earnings on how both of these stocks reacted to previous earnings, and then we'll come back to the candlesticks and get ready for the fireworks. We'll go ahead and switch this to let's do 1 minute chart here on both of them, and just looking at some previous earnings data on Cisco. So Cisco CSCO reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, so here in about 5 minutes. Consensus for EPS is positive 0.97, and forecast for revenue is 13.79 billion. So that's the forecast there. And just looking at some other information about this, Cisco has a 20 analyst rating of a consensus of hold. So we got that there. Now looking at the previous earnings that were released, you can tell from this chart here that they have a really good track record on beating the EPS. So not too worried about them beating EPS on this one either. And looking back at how the stock price of CSCO performed 1 day after previous earnings releases, you can see that the past 4 earnings, they've been green the 1 day after. So that's a good sign there. Very strong company. Cisco is a great company, I think, to hold in for long-term holdings or what have you. So that's what we got for Cisco. I have to say I'm bullish on the earnings. I think we'll get a bullish move out of it. Now let's look at PANW, which is Palo Alto Networks. And they also announce at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, so here in about 3 more minutes. And got a consensus forecast of EPS at a positive 1.16 and forecast revenue of 1.84 billion there. So 18.5% expecting to beat expectations. So let's look at PANW's previous earnings here. Got 37 analyst rating, consensus of a strong buy. So this is another strong company here, and kind of similar to Cisco, where they have no problem beating the forecast of the EPS. You can see all these previous earnings here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Past 9 earnings, they beat the forecasted EPS. So they have a really good trend of doing that. So pretty confident there. And then also the price of PANW 1 day after they released earnings on the 4 previous earnings, you can see very strong green the very next day. So my opinion about this is I'm definitely bullish on Cisco, and I'm also bullish on PANW. So for today's earnings stream, I'm actually going to be bullish on both stocks, and we'll see how what happens here in about 2 more minutes. Actually 1 more minute. It's about to be 4:04 p.m. Eastern. So getting some. Let me reset this chart here. There we go. Getting some volatility right now. Technically, the earnings aren't out yet. Got Mr. SLP in the house. He'll be checking for release of the data for me and behind the scenes.
What's up, mate?
How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Not much. Yeah, I'm looking for numbers behind the scene, guys. But yeah, it's about to come out. It's about to hit the deck. Let's see what happens.
Yep. So again, my bias is bullish on both companies. They always smash earnings, both of them. And they always have a positive reaction after their previous earnings. And we're talking about.
I also want to know, like, because Cisco didn't they're just about to do that deal with Splunk. They're about to do that acquisition. So it'd be nice to hear on the call maybe what's going on with that merger and that acquisition of Splunk. The ticker is SPLK. So that will be interesting to see what's going on with Cisco. But I'm very bullish as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here comes Cisco.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just keep in mind. Just keep in mind, this is surprising for me because these are two strong companies that have always reacted well to earnings. Now, keep in mind the first move sometimes is a fake out move. So let's see what happens here. Cisco's actually down over 10% right now, and PANW's down 8%, 7% to 8%. Let's see what happens. So I want to see what happens now. The earnings call for Cisco is at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So we've got about 25 more minutes before the actual earnings call. Okay, both stocks are taking a beating right now. So congrats to anyone that was short. Especially if you...
I'm looking.
We'll go to 5-minute chart.
Let's see. Cisco. I don't have any numbers yet for Cisco. I'm just still waiting.
Okay, so again, both companies selling off pretty hard after I was here. So once again, congrats to the shorts so far. Now, I don't want to speak too soon because both of these could very well reverse, but so far it looks pretty bearish. Go 3-minute chart.
If any one of them is going to reverse, I think it's going to be Cisco out of both of them.
Yeah, that's what.
Because I mean, it's down already. We're down at levels from like 6 months ago already. Basically, we're down to levels of like April, May 2023. So we're already down to here. Those levels. So.
Yep, I see that there. Zoom out a little bit, and you can see it better on the daily chart. Right over here. This is May 2023. Let's go back to intraday. It looks like Cisco's trying to recover here. Okay, as soon as we get the actual earnings data, we'll definitely post that for everybody.
You have to siphon through all of the junk to get the real information. So I'm gonna wait it out for a couple of seconds. I'm still looking for it.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Buyers trying to step in on Cisco right now. PANW is still very much red. Buyers trying to step in. A bit of a lower wick here, showing some buying pressure. See if PANW ends up turning around. Cisco looks like it wants to turn around. I'm going to put a Fibonacci on this just so we can see the levels here. Just go straight from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's see what it is.
Okay, so it's already retraced more than 25%. Actually, let me put this on the red wick here. There we go. Okay, so it retraced to 38.2%, kind of hanging out between 38.2 and 25 right now. If this thing starts breaking to the upside, we'll see what happens at the golden fib if and when it gets there. If Cisco breaks through the golden fib, which is 61.8 to the upside, I'll be pretty confident that this is going to recover just fine.
So I'm going to post it in for our followers online, the ones that are checking out Twitter, checking out Facebook, and.
Sure.
What other ones do we have?
YouTube.
We have a variety of YouTube. So I'm going to put it out there. You can see the numbers here if you want to review them real quick, but why I post it in the Discord too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cisco earnings here and adjusted EPS of $1.11 in the positive. Expectation was $1.03. So they beat EPS. Okay, that's good. Revenue. Let's see. Expectation was 14.6 billion, and actually brought in 12. Okay, Q2 revenue 12.6 to 12.8. Expectation was 14.2. Okay, so they looks like they missed revenue, but they beat EPS. Let's see here. Sees fiscal year revenue 53.8 billion to 55 billion. Expectation was 58.2. So it looks like soft guidance, and they missed revenue, but they beat EPS. Okay, so we got that. Still waiting on info from PANW. I'm gonna go ahead and draw a fib on PANW as well, because it looks like it's trying to recover here.
Yeah, I put PANW as well. We got PANW's information here as well. I put that on the screen. They did beat EPS, so it came in at $1.38 versus $1.16 estimates. Revenue came in at 1.9 billion versus 1.84 estimate. Guidance came in. It looks like they raised guidance.
Yeah,
it looks like they raised EPS
guidance,
and then it looks like the full year, the revenue, they put a spread on it from 8.15 to 8.2 billion. And then the street estimate is 1.18 billion. So they're like ranging between that. So
Gotcha.
not bad information from PANW. And like you see, they're both kind of dropped off, and they're both
now they're coming back.
recovering.
They're both coming back. And we've seen that with a lot of earnings this year too, Lee, where, you know, the first reaction, it's almost like a liquidity grab. And then they end up sending it, you know, to the upside. Okay, got Cisco breaching 38.2% fib, coming up to the 50% fib, which is basically $49. It's at 48.25 now. Okay, so Cisco's clawing back. PANW's trying.
Sorry, I'm trying to cook some food while I'm on the call with you. So I'm doing millions of things at once here.
You're multitasking over there.
Multitasking, yep. Okay, so we get a little pullback. Like we said, Cisco did look like the better retracement just on where it was sitting and what numbers it came down to. So Cisco, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, like I say, if Cisco can get through basically back up to 50 and breach that, I would expect it to fully retrace this first red candle. So it's looking like it's wanting to do that. We'll see how it reacts when it gets to 49 and then 50. These are nice clean levels on this fib here. Basically, you know, 49.08, basically 49. Then we got 50. Then we got 51.50, the 53.50 full retracement. Like in these clean, solid fib levels here. Okay, and also 4:30 p.m. Let me just double check here. Where did I see the info at? Where they were going to actually do the earnings call? What was Cisco at 4:30? I think.
Let me check.
Let's go 4 or 5 p.m. Okay, go back to the sticks here.
I can check for you. I can see when the calls are. We got PANW. So if you guys want to listen in on the actual earnings presentation, they're probably going to be different times. Let me see. Webcast. So, Pan, are you there? You hear me?
Yep.
You still hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
PANW has earnings. They have the presentation webcast at 4:30 Eastern.
Okay, so that's PANW, 4:30 Eastern. So, you know, that's what we see a lot sometimes too, is when the actual earnings data is released, we get one move, and then 30 minutes to an hour later, you know, just depending where they're located, they'll have the actual earnings call, and then usually we'll see a secondary move after that. So
I mean, you can hear from the CEO if it's doom and gloom, or are we going to get some enthusiasm? Like they're going to be excited for what's going on in the future, and then maybe that will get some nice big moves in the actual stock reaction. So that's, like I say, I love to listen to earnings calls and then see what happens then.
Yeah, me too. And like we were saying, usually we get a secondary move when that call happens. So just something to keep in mind.
And then the Cisco, you found out the Cisco. So Cisco's the same time, 4:30.
Okay, so they're both the earnings calls at 4:30, and so
they're both on the West
for
Coast. So it's 1:30 Pacific time. So that's 3 hours behind us. So yeah, 4:30.
Okay, sounds good. Had some pretty solid signals on SPY today. Got a real nice bull signal right at open. Then we got a bear signal, then a bull, then a bear. So could have just rinse and repeat the calls and the puts all day on SPY today. It was pretty nice. We made some good money. Okay. Okay. So while we're waiting for the earnings call for both of these companies, we've got someone on YouTube here. Seems like institutional shorts pushing both down. Guidance and numbers are good. Yeah, and sometimes when we see that, you get the institutions and the hedge funds and the companies with bigger money. They're a lot of times, or sometimes, it's like a liquidity grab. You'll see that first red candle down, because they're trying to get a good price on it before they end up pushing it up. Or they could be closing out short positions and then flipping to go long. So we see that a lot. You get that first reaction. I think Microsoft was one of the ones that did this exact same thing. Right when Microsoft earnings was one of the previous earnings, but we saw a big sell-off, and then all of a sudden it retraced all the way and ended up gaining. Uh-oh, sounds like Lee's little ones having some trouble. Got daddy daycare over here.
It's daddy daycare right now, man. At this time, daddy daycare. So I'm doing this. I'm doing earnings with you. Very versatile over here. And then I got a movie on as well at the same time, trying to keep them entertained, and then trying to cook food. So I'm sweating over here, guys.
You don't get paid for that? No.
Okay.
Yeah. So couple of the, while we're waiting on the earnings call at 4:30, which is in 12 minutes, looks like both Cisco and PANW trying to claw back the initial sell-off. Cisco is actually getting a little bit of a push right now as I'm talking. You see he's working on this 1 minute candle that seems to be a bigger green candle than the previous 7-8 candles here. So good sign. Looks like buyers are trying to step in. Same thing with PANW, getting some bullish momentum here. I am on the 1 minute chart. I know we don't put a lot of weight on the 1 minute chart. Mainly we use the 1 minute chart for entries and exits and stuff like that. But when it comes to earnings, I will watch the 1 minute chart a lot and look at some of these indicators. You can notice on Cisco and PANW that the RSI fell way below 30. But now the RSI has been creeping back up, and now both RSIs on both Cisco and PANW, both of the RSIs are now back above 30. So getting some good RSI pressure here to the upside. Would like the RSI to obviously get back into the 40s and the 50s to show some real strength there. And maybe that will happen in about 10 minutes when we get those earnings calls. I did want to go to a couple other charts to let everyone know what's going on here. And hold on one second. Let me switch this.
That's a nice recovery right there by CSCO. That's a pretty much a $3 move from low of after hours up to $48 from 44.70. That's a nice reversal there. Nice little
So far,
scalp.
so good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
I
is.
mean,
And those numbers are big, man. Those earnings, you can also see it on Webull as well. Those earnings are pretty big. I think that this is definitely one to watch going into tomorrow, at least market open, and see if we can get some plays out of this one. CSCO for sure.
Yep. Kirk on YouTube, PANW is trying to claw back. Hope it does. Kramer strikes again. No, that's so funny.
God.
Hopefully it turns back positive. Yeah, no, I feel you on that, Kirk. Thanks for joining us here on the stream as we talk about CSCO and PANW earnings and how it all unfolds here. Did want to bring up a one chart view and look at something else here. I did start a short position on a firm that I alerted to the premium members in our Discord. I just think we got this pretty big gap here on the downside. Did get a pretty big rejection off 2716 back on November 9th. So that was last Thursday. So lots of, this was basically a supply zone liquidity grab here. You could tell by this big upper wick. So lots of sellers sitting up there. And we tried to approach it again today, and we got rejected again. So I basically opened up call credit spread on this, which is a bearish position. Even though it has the word call in it, doesn't mean we're going long. Call credit spread. Anytime we receive a credit, we're basically selling the spread, and if we're selling the spread, then we're short the call, right? So if we're short the call, that's going to be bearish. And what I did is I gave myself a little bit of room. I actually sold the $30 strike call, and then I bought the 32.50 call and collected some pretty decent credit on that. And it's going to be a multiple entry position. That way I save some ammunition and some bullets in case a firm does come back up to 27 and some change. I'll go ahead and add an additional entry. And then I'll have 1/3 final entry if and when a firm gets back close to 30. If that even happens, I'll have another kind of like an uppercut punch final entry to give myself one last opportunity to have the short position successful. So that's the plan with that. It's December 15th expiration, and I sold the $30 call and bought the 32.50 call. So I opened that up today. We'll see how that goes. And believe it or not, Lee, I also opened up a bearish position on SPY for that today. But I do have a plan. And basically, I sold the 464 call, okay, on SPY. And this was December 15 expiration. I sold the 464 earlier today. And then I bought the 465 to form the spread. And let me just check my order book over here. I'll tell you what got filled that there. So I collected a 20 credit, and it's a $1 wide spread, so that's about 20% return on capital. If this was to go to expiration and expire worthless, this was another multiple entry short position on SPY. So I entered my first entry today, which was just a handful of the spreads. If and when SPY gets to 458, which is going to be testing the resistance from back here on July 27th, if and when that happens, I'll go ahead and add another entry into my short. And then my third and final entry is if SPY gets, if and when, it might not even get there, but if and when it gets close to 464, my short strike, I'll add my final entry, and then I'll have a tight stop loss after that. But out of the 3 entries, if SPY goes in my favor on any of the 3 entries, I will take profit on whether I'm on entry 1 or entry 2. I will go ahead and take risk off the table and take profit.
I always think that the 451 is going to be a hard place for SPY to get over, and that was challenging today. And is that a daily chart that we're looking at? Yeah. Is that a red candle? Did it close today red?
It ends up being like somewhat of a red doji candle, kind of. which is not a good sign. You don't want to see a doji at the top of an uptrend, kind of like what happened back here the very
That's what I
next
was looking at
day.
earlier.
Yeah, the very next day. I mean, even though it ended up with continuation, but the very next day, that was, if you would have shorted that red candle, you would have made a ton of money. And that's kind of what we're seeing today. So we got this uptrend. On top of that, we got the gap up from the other day. But basically an uptrend, and now we're back to this red doji that we saw over here. I would not be surprised if SPY's red tomorrow, just based on this price action. But
absolutely.
We'll see. Let's see here. Okay,
especially when President Xi is trying to take farmers out to dinner and trying to steal our farmers.
Is that what's going on?
You never know what will happen tomorrow, but that doesn't look like a good daily candle. And I mean, there's some obviously indecision today. And like you say, based off that last candle that we saw, we may follow it through with another red one.
Yeah, I mean, it basically traded in almost a $3 range today, a little bit less than that. So not really a big move. Now what we got was the big move in pre-market. If I go to the 5-minute chart, kind of zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see here where we kind of gapped up a little bit. Then it kind of traded sideways. So basically after the gap up in pre-market, it basically just traded in like a $2 to $3 range all day. So, you know, after pre-market, there wasn't really much action, you know, outside of if you are a day trader that scalps. There was some good scalp opportunities that I was pointing out earlier. Got some really nice intraday scalp signals here. So like I said, you could have went long in the opening bell. There was a nice scalp to be had there. Then you could have just flipped the script and went short as soon as the next bear signal came out. And then go long again and then short. So 2 opportunities to scalp calls and 2 opportunities to scalp puts. Maybe even 3 opportunities. You might even count this as two bearish opportunities here.
And then we had like retail numbers out this morning that were lower than expected. I think that the retail sales wasn't as expected.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see right here, 8:30 a.m. Retail U.S. retail sales. Yeah, it came in as a negative number. So, yeah, so we had that. And then, of course, the PPI, the producer price index, was this morning as well. So for those that don't know what PPI is, it's kind of like CPI's brother, right? So you got consumer price index, inflation gauge, and then we got PPI, which is producer price index. So basically measures the average change over time in the selling prices received by producers, right? So it's definitely a gauge at the Fed's watch. And so we had CPI yesterday, which came in better than expected, and then we had PPI this morning with retail numbers that what Lee was saying. So let me go back to the 2 chart here. It's 428. So actually get that the earnings call on both of these stocks, and we'll see how the price reacts to the earnings call at 4:30, and then we'll probably call it a stream here. So I got Cisco on the left, I got PANW on the right. I am on the 1-minute chart on both of these. Got some Fibonacci's drawn out from the initial red candle that we got. And as you can see, Cisco is still trying to claw back this first initial sell-off. It's looking pretty good. Same thing with PANW. It's holding up. It's holding up right around 25% retracement. It's kind of just hanging out there, which I think is a good sign. I think if it was just a dead cat bounce, this would have already probably been trying to come back down here to 226. But sitting up here around in the 230s and just kind of hanging out at the 25% retracement. And we got about 1 more minute, excuse me, before the actual earnings call, which I think we'll get a secondary move when these earnings calls happen. The actual, it's like almost like a press conference call with the CEO, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's. I think that's once that gets started, you see some kind of movement. I think more in Cisco than PANW too. I mean, they're both big companies.
Yeah. Okay, PANW getting a little bit of selling pressure on the 1 minute. Okay, let me fix my indicators. It always does this to me. It like mixes up my RSI and my MACD. That's fine. Wish Webull would it was like TradingView and it would just let me move that down. All right, PANW getting a little bit of selling pressure. So let's check a look at time and sales here. I get some red block orders coming in. Pardon me. Okay, so it's officially 4:30. So both of these earnings calls, actual calls with the CEOs, should be going on right now for both of these. Sometimes they're a minute or two late. I'll probably give it another 10 or 15 minutes and see if we get some reaction, possibly a secondary move. Just like I was saying earlier, the actual earnings data was released at 4:05 p.m. for both companies, and then 4:30 p.m. is the actual earnings phone call or web call, however they're doing it. Let's see if we get a secondary move here. I think if we don't see something in the next 10 or 15 minutes, could be delayed a little bit. And of course, we still have the rest of extended hours up until 8 p.m. Eastern for a secondary move to happen. But so far, you know, if we don't get a secondary move and it ends up dropping from here or even trading sideways from here, whoever was short maybe did an earnings lotto or something, and whoever did short plays, congrats if that does end up, if that's how it ends up panning out. But again, you know, we've seen a bunch of times this year where a stock it'll have an initial sell-off after the earnings, and then sometimes the next day, the next trading day, it ends up retracing all the losses and ends up actually going positive. So let me show you because that's basically what happened with Microsoft. Let me go to the daily chart on Microsoft, kind of go back here, and I want to show you which one it was where, yeah, I believe it was here, where they released earnings, it sold off, and then the very next day it ended up going for a nice run. So, you know, we've seen that a lot. So just be on the lookout for stuff like that. It's just that the initial reaction isn't always what the stock ends up doing. Go back to 1 minute chart here. Okay, so far both of them are just kind of holding up a little bit. PANW kind of around the 23% to 25% retracement, just kind of hanging out there. You know, as long as it doesn't go lower, it could technically make a higher low right here if this level holds up here around 230.50. If not, then it very well could just come back down. Now, if either of these two stocks end up making an after hours new low, that's definitely going to be bearish going into tomorrow, I think. But if both of these or either one of them cannot make a new after hours low, and they start making kind of stair stepping up in after hours, that's going to be pretty bullish going into tomorrow. So we'll know with the after hours data, we'll definitely know about that tonight. Okay. Stickman said he did 2 calls, but did it for the 9th, so not too concerned. Yeah, like I said, that I think CSCO would probably be the better bet on reversing. Seems to be clawing back. You know, CSCO's at 38% retracement. PANW is only like around 23. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Okay. So what'd you trade today, Lee?
Also, you got to think about tomorrow. Like, this is also like, oh yeah, let me jump in right now. I've done it before where I've jumped in like Cisco and like say Cisco, I jumped in at that 45 and I said, oh, that's a great. Let me hold it overnight. Well, it's always a risk of holding it overnight and basically losing all your gains that because you didn't have a day trade or whatever, right? So,
Right.
because analysts may downgrade it in the morning. So, like right now, we see the reaction to the actual earnings, but tomorrow the analysts may come out and say Cisco gets a downgrade to $40 or $35. This will likely trigger more sell-off in the actual stock price. So you may want to just, be careful what you hold if you got in on that scalp, what you're going to hold overnight. Maybe it's worth taking profits starting fresh in the morning. Kind of that's what I learned that works best for me.
Yep. No,
As for what I traded today, I traded I didn't trade too much, but I traded SE. We're on that live trading stream this morning, you and me.
I remember you were trading that live. Yeah, and
so
you got a pretty good profit there.
got about 60% max out of that put from the bear signal close to the top, and so we grabbed some like 60%, and I played that today, and that's about it. I didn't play too much on the equities. We took some profit on swings that we had. Neo swing overnight.
The Neo one was great. Yeah, that was a great trade. We were talking about that we saw Neo going back up into the $8, and that's what happened today. And we were actually talking about that yesterday. So that was like an overnight swing, right?
It was from our entry was 758. And then our target was at like a quick overnight swing was 8, and then we got to 820, I think, in the end. So we got some good little quick profits there overnight on that one. That's also a nice little. If you look at it was a nice reversal there. Hello. What's going on?
What's that?
It's okay. I think he's just a hot mic. In the Discord.
Hot mic in Discord. No worries.
Yeah.
All right. So not much going on right now with either of these two. It's about 4:37 p.m. Give it to about 4:45, and then we'll probably call it. And then,
well, our boy Ethan has a stream tomorrow. Maybe he do some. Maybe he tries trading some of these on the actual reaction in the morning.
Yeah, I mean we've done that a lot this year as well. As instead of actually playing through earnings, which is very, very risky, should be a lotto play if anything. What we've been doing is just waiting until after earnings, and then we'll play the trend, the post reaction, right? The post trend. We'll play that. That's been pretty successful this year, and a lot less risky than playing through earnings, right? So,
yeah, that's it.
Yep. Okay, so while we're waiting for a potential secondary move on either one of these two, let me go back to here. Let me just save this layout real quick. Go back to the one chart. So I did already talk about. I did start a short position on the firm. It's got it's got quite a few gaps down to the downside here. We got one right here that was never filled. So it's an unresolved price action for sure. This one here did get filled a little shortly after. We had a gap up here that got filled, but then we have this other gap here that didn't get filled. But do you see how often a firm fills gaps? Because look at this one. Here's the gap on November 2nd to November 3rd. And then within a couple of days, it filled it, right? And then it gapped up again on November 9th. And the very next day, it filled the gap to the downside. So here we are again, kind of a little pattern here, right? We had another gap up just the other day on November 13th to November 14th. And I just have a feeling that the firm's going to come down and fill this gap. So I'm not saying the firm's going to burn to the ground. Okay, the short position I opened on it today, it's purely just going to be a gap fill short, and I'll probably cover my short position once this gap gets filled. Because another pattern a firm has had is yes, it does like to fill the downside gaps, but it also ends up with continuation after the gap fills. So, you don't want to open up a short position. It fills the downside gap. We have profit on the table. You don't want to not take that profit because the firm also has a history of filling gaps and going higher. So the short position I opened today on the firm, just looking for this gap to fill, and then I'll go ahead and close it out and then see if it gaps up again. So I'm just going to be a gap chaser on a firm for the time being, and I'm just going to do it until it stops working. So that was the play we did there. Another spread that we did in the premium section, I did alert March 2024 put credit spread on Ford. And this was about 3 days ago. I alerted it on Monday, Lee. So that was on the 13th. Let me just double check. I don't want to be giving out. So I got several open spread alerts out right now. Just double check here. November. Let me see here. Yeah, so I alerted it last week. Okay. So it was under $10 at the time, and I sold the $10 put and I bought the $9 put and formed a put credit spread, which is definitely a bearish position there. And like I was saying, for those that are new to spreads, even though it says the word put in it, since it's a credit spread and we're receiving a credit, that means we're actually short the put, the one that's closer to the money, the strike that's closer to the money. So if I'm short the put, what does that mean? That means I'm long. I'm just going to mute Lee real quick. I'm getting a bunch of background music. Okay, so put credit spread, I sold that on Ford last week, and collected some decent credit on it. And as you can tell, it's going in our favor, and we're nice and green. We were nice and green on that at the end of the day yesterday, and of course today. So my profit target on the Ford put credit spread is around 50%. Pretty happy with taking in 50% on that spread. So that's nice and green there. And then we also talked about the bearish position I started on SPY. Just looking for SPY to take a breather. I mean, ever since SPY hit the low of 409 back on 1027, it's been on just a massive run, several gaps to the downside, price action that has not been resolved, which I'm pretty sure it'll end up getting resolved at some point. No telling when. But with the uptrend that we've seen and this red doji-ish looking candle that formed today, I'm kind of short-term bearish. Again, I'm not saying SPY is going to burn to the ground. I do think SPY can continue higher. I do think SPY has a good chance of coming back to retest this 458 from back here on July. So just because I'm opening a short position doesn't mean I don't think that can happen. But I'm methodically entering the short position with multiple entries. So I'm kind of scaling into it to ensure I can get the best possible credit received, because I'm selling options. I'm not buying options. It's totally different things. Okay, two totally different animals there. So I did start scaling into a SPY call credit spread today. And I'm leaving some bullets in the chamber for additional entries if and when I need them. If I don't need them, I'm happy taking profit on my initial entry that I entered today. If SPY does come back up to test the 458, I'm going to be adding my second entry into my short position. And if it goes my way, maybe it comes up to test this 458, and then we get the pullback. Okay, and then we get some sort of pullback, and I'll go ahead and take profit on the position at that time. If and when SPY gets up to 464, that is the short strike that I sold. When it gets close to there, I will add my final entry, and then I'll put a tight stop loss after that. But again, if I don't get to my third entry, then I don't get to it. I'll take profit on any one of my 3 entries. Hey, what's up, Lee? I had to mute you because there was a bunch of background noise.
No, that's okay. We're getting some movement in PANW. We're getting above that VWAP on.
Oh wow! Look at this
on the 1 minute chart. We're trying to push up here to 238. Things are curling up a little bit better now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you letting me know that because I'm
gonna go on mute now.
Going on. Okay, so PANW trying to claw back. So PANW, the investors must have liked the actual earnings call that's probably going on right now still. Started at 4:30 Eastern. They did the actual call. So whatever the CEO is saying, there's some buyers piling into the trade right now. So let me just take a quick peek at the order book. Outside of everything though, I really like PANW as a company. That's what I was saying earlier. The PE ratios is a little, the forecast PE is a little bit high, but it's positive. EPS very positive. And just looking at some of the financials, their debt to asset 87%, a bit on the high side, but as long as the debt to asset is below 100%, I'm usually okay there. If you ever see debt to asset over 100%, that's going to be a high, what we call a DOL, degree of leverage. So anytime debt to assets over 100%, just know that company is over leveraged, okay? And that's not a good thing. But income statement on PANW, looking at the annual, let's go to the quarterly. You can see, quarter after quarter increases on their net income. So PANW is definitely has turned a great stride with their net income and as far as the profit goes. So I really like that. Same thing with revenue. Past 5 quarters increase there. And balance sheet, just kind of want to check and see how much real estate they have. Okay, I'm not really seeing. Okay, here we go. Here, 617 million in property, plant, and equipment. So this is what we kind of call hard assets. I always like to see companies have a lot of hard assets, which is basically real estate and things that are tangible. So 617 million there. I like PANW as a company. I always have. The only thing they're missing is the cherry on top, which would be if they paid a dividend, but they don't currently pay a dividend. But I love the company, and here we are in after hours. PANW has retraced back up to 38% of this initial reaction of the earnings data, but looks like they're clawing back the losses, so they're trying to creep back up. Investors must have liked the earnings call that's going on right now. And again, I'm probably going to sign off the stream here in a minute. But again, just keep your eyes on this in after hours. If this keeps making higher lows from this sell-off leading up to 8 p.m. Eastern, which is the end of extended hours, if we see it stepping up, and especially if it gets past the golden fib, which is the 61.8% here. So I'd be looking for PANW to breach 245 again. And if it can breach 245, the golden fib here, I think there's a very good shot it retraces all of this sell-off and ends up actually turning green tomorrow. Okay, so just be on the lookout for that. And same thing with CSCO. What we don't want to see is either one of these stocks make a new low in after hours. That's going to be very bad news going into tomorrow. But if either one of these or both of these continue stepping up and making higher lows, we could definitely play the post reaction tomorrow if we do got a solid uptrend going, and we'll just go long on them tomorrow during the regular session. But that's about all I got for tonight. It's been about an hour. Just to kind of recap, CSCO did initially have a negative reaction to the earnings data. Same thing with PANW. Both of them kind of sold off. What we're going to find out is, was this a liquidity grab so that they can go ahead and send it into the green tomorrow? So that's what we have for tonight. Appreciate everyone joining us. Looks like we had quite a few people on YouTube. Got a nice little group in Discord. If anyone's interested in joining our Discord, we trade live every day. We got a handful of analysts, and we actually trade live. We're sharing our screens, going through the trades live, and people seem to like that when we can kind of walk them through.
The link is at the bottom as well. The link's at the bottom. Yep. So come join us. We got live trading tomorrow in the morning with Ethan. So yeah, come join us there.
Sounds very good. Everyone have a great night, and I'll catch everyone later. Cheers.